My name is Kyle Cox, and I'm coming from the sophomore wing in Eagle Tech Academy. You're listening to WJHS 91.5, The Eagle. Welcome to Media in the Making, a podcast where we look at the evolution of media from the 1800s all the way to present day. In this podcast series, we ask, how have different forms of media evolved and changed culture? Media in the Making, where media and culture are always changing. Now, let's take a step back in time. Today, we will be looking more in depth in the lens of the camera. And you're going to be in for a treat. You might know some things about the camera, but do you really know the history behind the old camera? Well, I'm going to answer those questions right now in my podcast. We're not just going to talk about the old camera, we're going all the way to modern day and talking about the new camera also. You might hear camera and think they're going to be the same, but you are very wrong. They are very different. Now, I will fill you with some information from the body that answers your questions if you have any. The old camera was made all the way back in 1888, but the best camera at the moment was released all the way up in modern day, April 10th, 2018, the Sono A7 III. The old camera, you might think, didn't have a name, but it does. Its name was Kodak. The first permanent photograph of a camera's image was made in 1825 by Joseph Nicephore Niepce, using a sliding wood box camera that was made by Charles Chevalier and Vincent Chevalier in Paris. It was made using an 8-hour exposure on pewter, coated with bitium. Joseph called his process heliography. The new camera, the Sono A7 III, was made of 24 MP full-frame sensor, IAF with tracking ability, with 5-axis optical body image stabilization, 10 FPS continuous shooting, multiple 4K full HD video speed at 120 FPS, and a range from 100 to 51,000 feet. That just shows you that the old camera was just a sliding wood box with a lens that could take pictures, evolved into the Sono A7 III that has tracking ability and insane range. Back in the 1800s, the camera and photos didn't have a big impact on media, but it did have a big impact on art. Since the camera was understood to be the gold standard of optical realism, cameras modern day has become a great tool for scientific research. Cameras even led to the invention of brain scanning and assessing human anatomy. If we didn't have cameras, the world would be so different, because then we wouldn't have as many inventions as we have now, because most of the inventions we have now was thanks to the camera, like brain scanning. And giving podcasts and interviews would be very difficult without the camera's recording ability and picking up the audio of the person you are interviewing. Because you would just have to write it down on a piece of paper and hope people would believe you. They still would have to go to the store to buy the old camera if they wanted to be able to contain it. The old camera was only $15. Then, for the Sono A7 III, you would have to go to a store also. But nowadays, the camera costs $1,700. The camera helped media grow in a positive way. Because the camera was the reason why we have videos to watch on YouTube for information. The camera also helped people invent things, like I've said, brain scanning and assessing human anatomy. Because of the camera and all its help that it has nowadays, with news updates, podcasts, videos, and interviews. Media in the Making is brought to you by WJHS 91.5 and the Eagle Tech Academy media classes. Media in the Making, teaching you about the evolution of media throughout history and its effect on culture, For more from the students, more podcast series are on the 91.5 website, WJHS915.org. Thank you for joining us.